Well, they closed down the mill and they closed down the mine. They said you can't work but pay your taxes on time. Got 3 little babies gonna starve to death or freeze. We started making white lightning, it was Grandpa's recipe. Run, rebel, run to nowhere. Run, rebel, run to the Scott County Jail.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Jailhouse Informant. I was about to say the historic Scott County Jail. You are locked in for the next hour with myself and my co-host, Dr. Christy Sumner. Hey, Chris.
Hey, Miranda. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. Chris is there at the jail live. I am in Cleveland this afternoon trying to get my house packed up.
Yeah, I see all the shelves behind you that are empty. But thank you, everybody, for joining us tonight. We have a great show. We are continuing on with our historic jailhouse series. So we have a great guest tonight. Very excited to talk to this gentleman about his location and about the restoration that he's doing there and some of the stuff that he's got going on. But just a few housekeeping things here. First, everybody, thank you for joining us tonight. We, as Miranda said, we here at the historic Scott County Jail have a lot going on. Rolling up into February. So we have a lot of different things that we're going to be catching everybody up on here in just a little bit.
Yeah. This jailhouse series that we're doing, last week, we had an amazing guest, Bill Cagle. He was here from Old Pickens County Jail, or the old jail in Jasper. Had a great conversation. That's located in North Georgia. And we talked about the marble industry, talked about the jail. He really did an amazing job and just such a wonderful guest. If you didn't watch that, we encourage you to go back, check out that episode, and stay tuned with our jailhouse series, because we've got some really great guests lined up for that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And this is really fun. Like I said, we get to talk to different jails across the country about their history, about some of their haunts, how they got involved with what they're doing at their jails. So this is really fun for us. But just a couple of housekeeping things here at the historic Scott County Jail. As I said before, we're rolling into February. So that means Valentine's Day. So what we're doing for February is we're actually doing our Love Kills series. And if you visit the historic Scott County Jail during the month of February, we will have different articles that we have highlighted that really have to do with killer couples, people that have killed for love in the name of love. So we're going to kind of look for that if you come and visit the historic Scott County Jail.
Yeah, we're very excited about that. We're coming off of January here, where we did kind of have a different schedule than what we would typically do. We had shut down every day, but Saturdays really heavied up on the after dark tours. We're going to continue to do the same thing in February, but we are going to add a couple more days back in. So we're not going to go to a full schedule just yet, but we do have an absolutely full schedule of after dark events, as well as some of the daytime stuff. So we're very excited about doing that, incorporating this Love Kills. We've also got, and that will be with the flashlight tours as well as the daytime tours. You will see those articles noted, but we will be going into a lot of great detail on the after dark flashlight tours, actually telling these stories and going in. So those are 90-minute tours. Those dates will be up on the calendar this week, so you can go in and book your 90-minute tour with us. And we've pretty much got several each week, right?
Yeah. We've got, as Miranda said, the flashlight tours. Everybody loves those. We've got guided ghost hunts with both Miranda and myself. And we have the escape room open as well. So a lot of things that are happening after hours, after dark. So come and take advantage of those things. One more kind of campaign that we're going to have here as well that we're kind of excited about. When Scott County gave the jail to the town of Huntsville came in and they painted over all of the graffiti in the cells, which, to us was kind of disheartening because the graffiti tells the story of the cells and kind of gives that history timeline through art and words and such. So what we're actually going to do is we are going to actually have a campaign called Tag the Cells. So we have these little 12 by 12 blocks that are painted in cell colors. We pre-painted them with the exact same color of the jail cells, and you can come and get one of these. They're going to be $10. It is kind of a fundraising effort for us. They will be $10, and you can put your graffiti on here, and then you give it back to us, and we're going to put it on the walls in our cells so we can get some graffiti back on to the cells of the historic Scott County Jail, because we think that's kind of interesting, and it'll tell a new story here at the jail.
Yeah, and really pretty much anything goes, but as with graffiti and such, because we are a museum, I mean, we
will have stipulations.
We will have stipulations as to what you can put on there.
We have the right to deny.
You can't go straight jailhouse on it, know. But we definitely want to see your creativity, and that will be displayed there in the cells. So, come show your art, come show your graffiti, and just be on the lookout. We will have more information about that coming up very soon as to how you can get involved and tag the cells. Also, we're going to be opening our calendar for the remainder of the year for paranormal investigations. We have it open through August right now, and those dates are going really quick. So we wanted to go ahead. We kind of had that closed out a little bit because both Christy and I have speaking engagements with Ghost Biker and with Soul Sisters and also with the jail, and working on some different events that we're planning to do at the jail. So we had kept the end of the year, September through December, closed off, but I think we're pretty well to the point we're ready to open that up. So this week, probably tentatively going to say Wednesday, that we're going to have September through December open. So if you're wanting to get your date booked for this year, go into our website. It's a very easy process, and you don't even have to, unless you have a question, you don't even have to talk to us. You can just go in, book that date, and get on our calendar. So that will be open this week. I'm really excited about opening that wide up.
Absolutely. So that's a lot of our housekeeping items that we have. Keep checking our Facebook page, but without further ado, we are very excited to speak to this individual tonight. He has a location in Trenton, Florida, which Miranda and I have both investigated. My team has investigated several times, and this place is awesome. Every time somebody asks me what's my most active location beside the Scott County Jail, it will be the Old Gilchrist County Jail in Trenton, Florida. So without further ado, let's talk to the owner, Henry Lee.
Good evening. Thanks for having us.
Hey, how are you doing tonight?
Wonderful, wonderful.
Well, we want to say thank you, first of all, for being on here tonight. So we're going to kind of talk about the history of the Gilchrist County Jail and kind of how you got involved in that process. As I said before, I know Soul Sisters Paranormal has investigated several times. Miranda has investigated as Ghost Biker, and it's just a great, great location.
It really is. Just when I think I might have seen everything that Gilchrist has to offer, I get surprised with one thing after another, and sometimes I get a little envious of the past investigators that have come through. Some of them are catching the Shadow Man, which eludes me as much time as I spend in here, which I am at the Gilchrist right now. He eludes me, but yeah, just the feelings, the watching the investigators come through and do their thing, which is making me I was not a paranormal investigator when I first bought this jail by any means, and I always make that very clear to people. So I enjoy watching the people that are actual investigators that are seasoned per se. It's a great experience being part of the jail, part of these different teams that come in, and seeing their different styles, different personalities. It's an amazing place.
All right, so
Well,
let's go ahead.
Sorry, I was going to say, before we get into all the paranormal and that side of things, why don't we kind of go in and talk about this beautiful location as far as where it's at and some of the history that's behind it.
Well, it's in downtown Trenton, and it sits right in the back end of a dead end alley, in the back of a beautiful park with lots of nice trees. And what sits in this park in front of us is the old train station here in Trenton, which I've investigated and several other teams have investigated. Another very interesting place as far as paranormal activity. Built in 1928. In its history, from 1928 to 1966, the jailers would come in, being the circuit court judges would come in on the train. They would be found guilty, innocent, whatever the case may be, and sent to different places. At 6 p.m., the sheriffs would leave, and these prisoners were left by themselves. And let me tell you, they did have a heating system here, but I've been in these little Gilchrist County Jail cells in August, and it's stifling. The window does no justice. There was no fans. And that's part of the experience of the Gilchrist that I want to keep in contact. The actual being immersed into that particular time period. Oh, that's a very interesting picture right there. Oh, I love that lady. You'll have to send that to me.
We will. That's from the 1960s. And I'm from Florida. I grew up in Ocala, which is about an hour south of here. And so a lot of the history here is really what fascinates me, because it's sort of in lockstep with Marion County and some of that. But, we've got the map here so you can kind of see where it's in location. But it's about an hour's west of Gainesville. And I think the history of Gilchrist County in and of itself is so fascinating. In 1925, it was before 1925, it was part of Alachua County, making Alachua County one of the larger counties in the state. And so the people of this part of the county were called the West Enders, and they were really kind of ticked off because the road conditions were bad. You've got the agricultural industries of cows and the farming industry. And so they really felt that they didn't have a voice in Gainesville, which was the county seat at the time. And so what they did was they said, well, if you don't give us a stronger voice and pave our roads, we're going to build our own county. And Gainesville said, go for it. And so to save face, they absolutely did that. They went to Tallahassee in 1925 and said, we want to become our own county. In December of 1925, the city of Tallahassee said, okay, we grant that. And Gilchrist County becomes a reality. And so that to me is so fascinating in and of itself, because you've got these essentially cowboys saying, we're going to do our thing here, Gainesville. We're not going to pay attention to what you're doing. We want to do our own thing over here. And that's why the jail had to be built, because this county was, it was in such a rural location. And that's why the jail was built.
Love the history. I'm mad at myself that I'm so wrapped up in everything else. You have more information. Like I said, that first picture that you showed of the jail, I've never seen it before, and that's why I had that grin on my face. That one
picture. Yeah,
that's
we'll send
a
that
really
to you.
good picture, and I need to send that to the Historical Society, so that I would really love to get that picture from you. That is an amazing shot of the Gilchrist back in her heyday. That is absolutely.
Yeah. And again, that's why we love this location so much. Now, this was the fourth collaboration investigation that Miranda and I did together. But again, to know the history of that, and to your point, Henry Lee, the fact that there was no jailer at night, it had a lot of violence, to me is just, it was really very, very primitive at that point.
Yeah. And just the people that were in there and for the reasons that they were in there. I mean, something as simple as cussing or spitting in the street. And then you would have
You're
these
right.
men and women housed together. You know, I'll tell you, this location, this was part of a 10-day trip for me down to Florida to visit Christy. And we had scheduled this one before I was coming back to Tennessee. And I remember after you've investigated 5 locations, 5 nights in a row, you know, you're pretty tired and then
Oh
getting
yeah.
ready to make a 9-hour trip home. And so I can remember us kind of talking about, because we hadn't really heard a whole lot about the Gilchrist at that time. And this is on your way back home. Let's stop and investigate this. And I remember telling Christy, I was like, I have a feeling this one is going to be a sleeper, that this is going to be one that's going to come in. We're going to get some great things. And she did not disappoint. I mean, it was honestly, and I investigated some really cool places when I was down there, but she's honestly probably my favorite investigation that we did down there, because it was so raw and so active and so unexpected, at least from my point of view.
Right. I'm going to, while we're talking, I'm just going to go ahead and walk on cell 4, and we'll continue our talk up in cell 4,
There you go.
which I'm sure both of you.
Yeah, we've been there. So let's just backtrack just a tad. And how did you acquire the Gilchrist?
Well, my wife and I were on Facebook, actually, and it was for sale. So we reached out to Matthew Parrott of Watson Realty, said, could we schedule a tour of the jail and see what you got going on? Excuse me, the stairs are steep and it gets really heavy up here, so let me kind of catch my breath. Well, when we first got here, it was a rainy day, which was great because I wanted to see if the jail leaked, and it's a tank, let me tell you. We stopped at the front door and asked for permission. Spirits of Gilchrist, we'd like to come and check out your space. And when I got back to the owner, Miss Arlene Hale, she was impressed that we took the time and had the presence to ask their permission and had the respect to do as such. And I think it really made a difference in the end for us, because there was other people that were very interested in this property. It took a little bit, but at the end of the day, even with its trials and tribulations that are going on right now, I'm never not excited to be here or to talk about it.
Mm-hmm. Now, did you have a belief in the paranormal before you purchased the Gilchrist?
Yes, as a child, we lived in this house, and what stuck out in my mind is there was a pentagram in the basement floor in New Jersey, up in northern New Jersey. I was about 9 at the time. Had the old glass doorknobs. They would jiggle at night, and I would tell my mother, and she'd be like, "Yeah, right, go to bed." But yet torment me with the Jersey Devil story, which is another show altogether. But being born in New Jersey, that was prevalent as I was growing up. But as I moved on in my life, my wife Cheryl and I lived in a house that was very much haunted. We were catching, this is way before we were so in depth in the paranormal. Well, unfortunately, in 2014, that house, we had a devastating explosion happen. And we were in the hospital for a while. We suffered massive burns. So I seen a mist over my bed a few times.
Wow.
Dismissed it at first. I felt there was something going on paranormal. When I seen Cheryl when she came out of her coma, I look up and see this mist. She looks at me and says, "Do you see that?" And I'm like, "I've been seeing that." She's like, "No one else can see it." And that was at that moment, that was 7 years before we bought the jail. We had went into hyperdrive as far as paranormal and our interest in as such.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so when you were looking, and you said you saw it on Facebook and stuff, were you actively looking for a paranormal hotspot to purchase, or it just caught your eye?
Just caught our eye. This is, keep in mind, this is 2021. COVID's in its highlight. We came down to Florida. We were thinking, well, do we want to have a bar, maybe a restaurant? we were looking to invest in something. We seen this, and at first it was just the price was expensive, but it was right, and we were into the paranormal. So at first, we were just buying this for us.
Mm-hmm.
And, as we moved forward and started, experiencing some of the things here and learning about its history, about the 16 years of Arlene Hale doing investigations, we decided we couldn't just keep. Wow. Okay. Sorry. We couldn't just keep this for us. And that's what got us on the path of letting investigators come in, as Arlene was doing. But I think with my aspirations, is why it's moving it forward, getting it to where it needs to be for safety reasons and all, is why that no one's visiting at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Can you give us kind of a brief descriptive tour of what rooms are in this jail, like essentially how big it is and what rooms are in it?
Well, I'm sitting in cell 4 right now, but on the bottom floor, there are 3 cells, which from my understandings, when there was women here, they would tend to keep them downstairs, which one of our spirits is Nancy. Some call her Evil Nancy. I just refer to her as Nancy. She does like Glenn Miller a lot, to say the least. But there's 3 cells, and those are 2-man cells down there, which, looking and thinking about Gilchrist's history, being in one of the 2-man cells wouldn't be so bad. It was just you and one other person, and you had a 50-50 chance of getting in the corner and having some meeting of the minds. But the reason why I sit here in cell 4 is, in my mind, and I get chills of saying it, just being in the presence in this particular cell, there were 6 men in here. Mm-hmm. Can you imagine the lower guy that says, "No, you're not getting my little biscuit here, my biscuit and gravy this morning"? Oh, really? Well, when Sheriff Slaughter leaves later on, we're going to talk about this for the next 12 hours. I couldn't imagine being in that kind of brutality in here. Mm-hmm. And the history, I won't get into that right now, but this is, in my opinion, and cell 8 is the most active, but this cell 4 is the scariest cell, in my opinion, as far as the mortal ground to stay here in those conditions. Mm-hmm. And then you get to cell 5 across the way up here. There's cell 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Like I said, 5, 6, 7, and 8 are 2-man cells. Let's take that moment, and as we're talking about, cell 7 is the most intact cell that we have here at the Gilchrist, which will probably change in the near future, but let's see here. All right, there would be the toilet and the sink. Mm-hmm. And then, the bed, you can see the bed here. But this is a good example of what it would be like in Gilchrist. I'll sit here for a while. Mm-hmm. Just being in this close, confined area, being the toilet that close to one's feet, the lack of private space, the lack of air conditioning in the summertime would make this having to stay in here unbearable.
Yeah. And for those who are watching that don't really particularly know what he's talking about, is, as we said before, the jailer would, up until 1966, the jailer would not stay there. And so they essentially lock the doors at night, turn off the lights, and say best of luck. And if you were alive the next morning, kudos to you. But you would be in these cells with other people, and it led to a lot of violence because there was no jailer oversight at night.
Yeah, that's what the investigators pick up on in all the cells. Not an evil place, definitely full of anger, sorrow, regret. Sorry, I hear noises all the time, and I'm kind of like, you know how it goes. I don't tell you, ladies. Like cell 8, more than one person has said there was an altercation in cell 8 over mashed potatoes, a fork to one eye. Cell 4 has a documented hanging in there. Now, of course, we know what happened. I believe it was 2007 with a gentleman. I don't mention his name out of respect for the family, but it's in Gilchrist history, where someone was murdered in the 2000s down there. So,
and we
does Gilchrist have electricity visiting currently, it has a temporary pole for construction. As I move forward with the historical plans, I'll see what they want to do as far as restoring power to where and when it was via 1928.
Okay. And just kind of talk to that a little bit before we really go in more into the paranormal. What are your plans? Obviously you own it. And so you're trying to get this on the historical registration list or the historical registry. So what are your future plans for Gilchrist?
Future plans of Gilchrist is to save it historically. There is a sad lacking of historical places here in Gilchrist County. If we want to preserve our future, we need to save our past. And I want to make it to where the high school and the junior high school would come in and do the tours and offer this to the local schools. And of course, it'd be no charge to the local schools because of the history of the jail and saving it. With that said, I'd like to have tours like you guys do, making it a museum. I have some small pieces that I've gotten locks and different hand cuts and stuff to make it to tell the story of what went on here at this jail and things being bad in jails now. Can you imagine in 1928, there was no rights here. You were treated probably inhumanely and probably vice versa. I don't want to talk badly about maybe sheriffs that were working back then. Imagine what they had to deal with the rules and parameters they had to follow. So,
Yeah, and we're looking at some pictures here as we scroll through, and you've done an amazing job so far. When we've investigated there, obviously it was before you had it, and so it was much more rustic, if you will. And I love that car.
Thank you. An interesting story behind it.
Yeah, go for it. What is that?
Well, as you see in these pictures, we were picking up a lot of historically things for the jail with that in mind for a museum. We had people out there doing feelers. Well, this car came, it's a 1947 paddy wagon. It went into service for the Bronx, New York that year. In 1954, as you could see by the bullet holes in the windows, so I've been told, I mean, there's a sucker born every minute. But these bullet holes were from the assassination of the two young deputies on duty there in the Bronx.
Wow.
Well, of course, when it impound for evidence and things like that, it ending up in Florida in Sarasota. They used it for racing, as you can see the louvered hood there. It was used for racing, but over the time they never got rid of that window because of the story behind it. Well, when Cheryl and I seen it, we decided to have it restored as a monument piece here at the Gilchrist, and had it restored to a Gilchrist paddy wagon.
I love it. I love it. I mean, that's one thing that we would love to get here at the historic Scott County Jail is a piece like that. So kudos to you. But you know, as we scroll through these pictures, you can definitely see some of the things that you're gathering for a museum and some of the work that you've done already at the jail.
Yeah, you've done an amazing job with the work, because when we were there, I mean, it was, you know, it's a struggle with some of these locations because obviously you want to keep rustic and keep it as it was, but you also want it to be nice and be a museum. So you've done an amazing job and put a lot of work in it just since we've been there.
Well, in all fairness, Arlene, when she sold it, she knew she was getting up there in age, and I try to keep her involved as much as possible. In any interviews I do, I always mention her because it was tough for her to sell this place.
It
let me
was.
tell you.
Yeah.
And it's still a struggle for her. I hope she's watching this evening because my heart does go out to her. I love this place. I know, at least I have a son, James Irwin, that's going to be the face of Gilchrist one day, and I will hand this to him one day. And I know it'll continue on long after I'm gone. I'll have left some impact here in Trenton, in Gilchrist County, of saving this property.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Arlene, she was the one that we worked with, and she was incredible when we went that day, as far as sharing the history of it. She knew her history and making sure that we were comfortable and okay during the investigation.
Yeah, she definitely my mentor. She put dowsing rods in my hands, which I've went and bought every tool I could possibly can, and put them all around the jail. But at the end of the day, the dowsing rod she gave me never let me down.
So if you can, just talk about some of the, obviously when you bought it, what are some things that have surprised you, or, things that you didn't anticipate owning a jail?
I would say eating at the local Bubba Q's early in the morning, actually meeting some of the old timers that were actually arrested in here in their younger days, and hearing the story, and most of the town knowing its history, but it just sat back there in that corner and just went oblivious to it. Everyone, you either know it and been in it, you've heard about it, or you know nothing about it. That's, of course, the younger generation really doesn't know much about it. And the little graffitis, like you're saying, like on some of these window jams that are left, and some of the things we're finding on the property, like a Pepsi bottle from the 40s,
Oh, cool.
a Bud Light bottle from the, my son just found the other day from 1991. There was a special
awesome.
Bud Light bottle, and different things we uncover. It's time capsule, and I can't say enough about being the owner of it. We go to other places to investigate, but the best thing is when we're not investigating on the road, like at the Birdcage is the last place we just went to in Tombstone. I highly, as a historian, ladies, you make a point to go to Tombstone and go to the Birdcage.
I love
I'm
Tombstone.
blown away. I had a cold spot on the back of my head. It was an amazing evening. It's the little things that I'm still uncovering, little symbols on the walls of the boiler that's still here, the old 1928 train units that you seen when you were here, still here. It's the history precedes itself when I sit here and think about it, especially being in one of the cells right now.
Mm-hmm. And that's kind of interesting, because that's how we are at this jail, the historic Scott County Jail. People will come in and say, oh, this is the cell that I stayed in for 30 days. And, my brother arrested me and put me in the drunk tank, and all of these different stories, because the jail really was a community fixture, right? For lack of a better term. Either you knew somebody who worked there, you knew somebody who was incarcerated there. The stories are community stories, even though most of them are negative. But it is a recognizable institution, really, in a community.
And like I said, the stories I hear from the living and the dead, it's incredible when I can combine them together. And we suggest that to any paranormal investigator, get to your location early and go to the little bar or go to that little hole in the wall diner and talk to the older people that are sitting there early in the morning. You'll be shocked on what you'll learn about the town and the place you're going to.
Yep, absolutely. You're absolutely right. So as I said before, Miranda and I, we've investigated there. My team has investigated there a couple of times. Miranda was there on a collaboration with us, and some of the stuff that we captured there really, I've never experienced anything anywhere else. We were capturing intelligent EVPs. We were capturing, these disembodied voices that we heard in the moment. And the way I like to explain it is, if there's ever a pure investigation, if you can call an investigation a pure investigation, it was our investigation at the Gilchrist County Jail, because every piece of equipment was validating every other piece of equipment. And that, to me, was just a very special, interesting investigation for us.
And yeah, like you were saying about the EVPs, that stands out the most here from every, we've had a disembodied whistle going on here of Glenn Miller that we could not explain. And our event in October, the Para-Unity event we had some people from War Party in here with the recorder. I was just giving a little tour. I got emotional, and I'm like, Spirits of Gilchrist, I'm really trying to be a good caretaker. I consider myself to be the caretaker of these spirits. I'm not the warden. I'm their caretaker, and I look forward to not the day I pass, but I hope I get to meet them personally on the other side. to just kind of, and I hope I have the respect, because at the end of the day, I'm doing this so they can tell their stories.
Mhm.
So we got an EVP that I was saying, I hope you know I'm doing my best. And an EVP popped up. We're in good hands. Not just a
Fantastic.
word, not just a noise or muffled, like you're saying. That impresses me the most here. Some of the EVPs we get here are off the chain.
Absolutely. One of the things that our jail does is really kind of tell the history through some of the evidence that we've been capturing. And that when we were at the Gilchrist County Jail, it did almost the exact same thing. As you alluded to before, after the jail closed in their 1968, it really sat vacant, right? And it became an activity for drugs and all of that. And
I believe for a little bit the sheriff lived here with his family, and then, like you were saying, it fell into disarray. There were families that lived here I've been picking up along the way, which impresses me. But yeah, for the most part, it sat here. No one cared about it until Arlene, I would say, got it and actually put it on the paranormal map.
Absolutely. And so one of the stories there is in the early 2000s, there was a guy that was killed back there as a drug deal gone wrong is how it was described to us. And so some of the stuff that we were capturing that night validated that story. And again, when a location can do that, that's pretty amazing.
Yes, it is. Like you're saying, the different levels of the different parts of intelligent haunting, residual haunting, the EVPs, the different things that are captured here. It's a special place. I've never felt in danger here, but I'll be honest with you, ladies, in October, the place had been locked up for a couple of weeks. No one had been in here. Several of us were overwhelmed by the energy that was in here. I don't want to say attacked. I do want to say the way I felt it. We were overwhelmed in several different ways. So I know that they want to tell their story. They're eager to share what went on while they were here.
Absolutely. And so Miranda's actually showing one of the SLS camera interactions that we had there. This would be looking into the jailer's quarters, which is what you've got set up as your gathering room. And so for us, it was pretty compelling because it actually looks like one of the figures is shooting the other one. So that
didn't get anything that good, but we have had several SLS moments in that general vicinity, being from the back door to the left to the window. Very, very active SLS. Enough as much with the cameras that are here at the jail. We're getting an app made for SLS to be running in here as well. So,
yeah, it's a pretty interesting tool to use there for sure. And so just to be clear, right now, you don't have it available for paranormal investigations, correct?
Unfortunately, not. I'm taking the steps to put it in the historical society, which would deem it a place that can be visited. Doing construction on to save this wonderful place. Like I said, no disrespect to the past owners, but I'm at 56 and I've got my hands full, and I'm saving this wonderful historical place, because if we don't, it'll get torn down. So I work feverishly on, and that's what Tallahassee was saying to me too, for it to be still a jail and not be decommissioned and turned into a warehouse or something like that. And I didn't think we had enough going on here for their interest, because there's not a lot of beds. But what it does have is all its original bars, doors, keys, the boiler. It's still worth saving. There's still enough here to work with and save and make it a place for everyone to admire and appreciate.
Yeah. And we've been obviously following you on Facebook, and I got to say the steps that you're taking, it's very encouraging, because you've gone in and you've really tried to do, for lack of a better term, the right thing to get this up to where everybody can enjoy it, both the historians and the paranormal investigators.
And yeah, we want to share this, and we want to make it accessible to not only the paranormal investigators, because speaking with you too, I'm sure you find a place like the Gilchrist, you do it several times and you move on to a different location for different stories, different experiences. So what my main goal is, I want the skeptic, I want the person that watches the shows on cable, if they want to experience that, but I can't afford these tools. We have all the state-of-the-art stuff here and can conduct, and that's why we're learning how to do investigations too. So we can share that with someone that just has the interest. They'd like to see it, touch it, be it, feel it for themselves for just a moment and learn a little bit about history in the process, or even a person that's not even into the paranormal. The historical value of the Gilchrist is priceless in mine and Moses' opinion.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So what, in your mind, what does the timeline look like?
I'm really shooting for fall. That's going to depend on my first couple of inspections. I'm doing my best to overkill everything to make sure, it's not a, well, that's kind of good, but so it just depends on, I'm hoping for fall. I'm hoping the Gilchrist Third Paranormal Unity Fest can include the jail. I'm feverishly working for that. So I'm hoping by fall, at some capacity, at least I'll be able to bring people back in. So that's what I'm shooting for fall. Even if it's not all through the night, which is a paranormal destination owner, I feel the best time you should be there is between 12 and 4 p.m. And if you got to be chased out at 2:45, it's leaving a lot on the table, and it's leaving a lot. God, I wish I could have been there at 3:15. So with that said, I'm hoping at some point that I could push it to past 2:45. But my main goal is just to let people come in safely again, and Gilchrist will take herself where she needs to be, and I'll get her there.
Well, let us know just before that happens, because we definitely want to make a return trip down. I know I highlighted it on my season 5 of County Jails this past season, which was in October, and just great reception, because it's such a treasure, with just the activity that you get in this location, and then the history in and of itself. All these county jails have very similar stories, but very unique in their own right. And so people definitely need to have the opportunity to be able to check this place out.
Well, another thing that surprised me, rounding back to the question, has anything along the way that surprised me? That little hole under the stairs. When a sheriff told me what it actually was, in my mind, like I'm learning as I go.
Mm-hmm.
He told me that's actually where they shove people to give them some correction. I got crammed myself in there for some interviews, and I wouldn't want to spend more than a few minutes in there, and people do go in there with the blindfolds on. I've had a skeptic come out of there white as a ghost saying he'd never go back in there again. So that caught me off guard too, because I looked at it and I'm like, that's just a storage spot or something. That caught me off guard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, again, a very interesting story. I mean, we captured some really cool things from that area as well, and it's just the entire building is absolutely just active. History and paranormal. So, and I think one thing that I really enjoy about you, Henry Lee, is the fact that you're not from the area, right? But yet you've come in, you've purchased this property, and you've immersed yourself not just in the history of the jail, but the history of the county, the history of the town, the history of, Trenton and all of that. And you're joining the Historical Society. You're practically going to run it. And, you're doing all of these things, which I think in and of itself just speaks of the fact that, you're not just a location owner, right? You're coming in and you want to be part of the community.
Well, I grew up in Daytona Beach, Flagler County, so I wasn't born here, obviously, with my accent. But I've made that clear to the locals and what their opinions like. Any little things I need, I'm not getting from out of state. I'm getting in local contractors, local businesses, the Ace Hardware, the Bubba Q's, which used to be a boarding house that was here before the Gilchrist Jail. These are gems just sitting here and they've refurbished them but kept them in some kind of historically correct way. So, yeah, I love this little town. I joined the restoration committee last year. I was voted to be president of that, but I declined because I'm like, I've got a lot going on, and I don't want to represent a position like that in any way but professional. So I gladly took the vice president position and learning from them, moving forward with the restoration of Gilchrist, of Trenton. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to have say-so in the saving of these buildings, and why not? Why shouldn't I? I'm in a personal, out of my own pocket, my wife's pocket. We're trying to restore this place just because we love it, just because we want to share it. And it's very costly. I'm sure you both understand that. Yeah, and you know the shape it was in. It's an uphill battle, but you know what? It's at the end of the day, we love it so much, and the relationships we're forming with Gilchrist County, with the old timers that were here, the stories of wives standing on the used to be the train tracks over there. Now's the bike path, talking to their loved ones in 4 and 8, yelling back and forth, hearing those stories. Hearing stories of a young man, they were hot rodding, not stealing. They had their car and they were racing up and down Main Street, was arrested, put here about 12 a.m., got out at 8, showed him the keys, and he shivered. He's like, I've never been to jail since. So I've embraced the city, and they've made me feel welcome. And
very cool.
At the end of the day, I want to represent Gilchrist County and Trenton in a positive manner.
And
that's awesome.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I love, because too often you do hear about some of these locations that sat vacant for a long time. Somebody comes in that's maybe not from the area. I know the locals may not always be as welcoming about that. And then these locations, they turn into offices, they turn into things that aren't. It's a new purpose, but I love the fact that you're restoring it as it was, and also as a museum to share the stories of what the building originally was whenever it was built, rather than repurposing it into,
And that was important to Miss Arlene too, because there were people here that wanted to turn this into a bike shop, like you're saying, because of the bike trail. Mm-hmm. And she shot that, and they offered more money. And there's a shout out to Arlene.
Yes.
Did they turn a profit on the place? Yes, they did. But were they financially driven they made sure when they handed it over to Cheryl and I, we were going to do just what we're doing now. Everything we're doing is a little 2023 for her liking, I believe. But at the end of the day, we're keeping her as a haunted destination and a historical destination, and they both need to run concurrent. Not just one or the other. It's both, because, and let's face it, ladies, you've been on many investigations. It's not even so much the place, it's everywhere. It's all around us, and we're starting to understand that more and more. Or maybe it's just this little town I'm in Trenton, because anywhere I go in this little town seems to be very active.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. It's a very historic place, but having been to the Gilchrist, I can definitely see that it's in good hands. So thank you for what you're doing.
I appreciate it. Coming from you guys, I appreciate that, because I look to you guys. I bit off maybe more than I could chew. I'm in there all the way like a poker. I'm all in, but I see what you guys are doing there, and you inspire me. The graffiti, I'm inspired to have people do that here now. So I do look to you guys as like mentors. Like, hey, they're doing this right alongside with me. This has been uncovered since you got here.
Kind of losing you there, Henry.
It's a very strange graffiti marks in the wall.
Let's see. We'll give him a second to see if he.
Said, here we go. Yeah, here we go. Am I back?
Yeah. Yeah, you back.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that stairwell could be a little less friendly with the internet connection, but I'm back here in the gathering room, which we were talking about earlier, with a quiet REM pod. That's kind of funny because it was doing its thing earlier. But the murder you spoke about happened right here, where you see a new window be going in, but very interesting place.
Absolutely. Well, again, we just can't thank you enough for what you're doing there at the Gilchrist. And we highly encourage everybody to go to the Facebook page, the Gilchrist County Jail Facebook page, like it, and just follow along with what they're doing, because Henry is doing a great job. He and his family are doing a great job on the restoration of it. And so we're very excited to follow him and his journey on this. And then when it opens back up for paranormal investigations, you'll be the first to know if you're on his Facebook page.
And that is the Facebook group, correct? Rather than the Facebook page?
Right. It's the Old Gilchrist County Facebook page, capital letters on each beginning letter. It's the one with the red building. There's another one out there that was Arlene's. That's the big, it was, so the one with the red building is ours.
I'll pull that up just so people can see.
Right. They can see the step-by-step, the everyday workings of taking a project on like this. Someone that's new and investigating, making the mistakes, thinking dust is an orb or this or that, having the fun and the scientific mind to trying to debunk stuff. It's a beautiful experience, and I do a lot of live feeds, and I share this with people. Just because I think it's worth sharing, it's worth saving. Our journey is worth sharing. My children being involved in the paranormal with us, their ups and downs, having parents that are into buying haunted places and seemingly to be following us around. So we embraced the caretaker position here.
Awesome. Well, again, thank you so much for being with us tonight. We really appreciate it. And thank you for what you're doing there. And like I said, y'all go and like that Facebook page, like that Facebook group, and just kind of follow along with Henry Lee's adventures and trials and tribulations and successes and everything else he's got going on out there.
I'm going to keep a smile on my face and share my experiences with everyone who is interested in watching.
There you
We
go.
love it. Yeah, definitely, guys, go check on or click on this link here in the comments. We also have the link there in the show notes, and join his group, because you're going to be glad you did, because they post a lot of really great stuff as far as his progress. Plus, you want to be the first to know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. And it will keep all the people that have been here, it'll keep you informed instead of, wondering. That you'll see as it's getting closer and closer. You'll, of course, be all right. Yeah, now it's getting interesting. Now it's going to open back up. And sometimes the lack of something makes the interest even more as such. I want to thank you guys for keeping the Gilchrist in everyone's minds moving forward.
Absolutely. Like I say, we love that place. But so we're going to go ahead and put you backstage right now. Hang on if you want to. If not, you can pop off. But we'll say goodbye after that. All right. Perfect.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much, y'all.
Thanks, Henry.
Thank you.
Wow.
He's done a lot.
That makes me want to go down there now and check that out.
I know. Just see if we can get some of the same activity that we did before.
Right. And maybe that's what we need to do. Maybe afterwards we can repost a link to our videos where we both highlighted it. Because that location had some great stuff. And I just can't reiterate enough how much I love seeing these old jails get a new life, a new chance, a new opportunity to be what they were and be accessible to the community. I mean, there's so much work that goes into it, seeing these historical societies, these location owners and, leasers, whatever the case may be, opening these locations up for the community. It's a great story to be able to share.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can totally see his passion for it, which, again, is very encouraging. And Arlene did a great job. You and I love her.
Absolutely.
And she did a great job down there. But to see that he's doing, all of the restorations and renovations and really immersing himself in the history of not just the building, but the community, that's extremely refreshing.
And thank you all over in the chat room for your comments, but also for joining the group, because it's, we can speak firsthand doing this with this location. It's that word of mouth and that sharing of things that really gets the word out about what we're doing. So we appreciate you guys following his page and the other folks that we highlight on here, checking out their groups, following their pages, and helping them to get the word out that something great is going on in that area, because it's definitely not easy.
Yeah. And that's why I love this series that we're doing. Next week, we're going to highlight another great jail. We're very excited about the dynamic duo that we'll be interviewing next week, talk to them about their location and what they've got going on and how they got involved with it. So looking forward to that.
I think we're heading to Texas, right?
We're heading to Texas. Yep. Now, like I
Yeah.
said, it's going to be a dynamic duo. So looking forward to them. But thank you, everybody, for joining or for commenting and following us along tonight. Again, keep watch on our Facebook page, because we do have some really cool announcements coming up. If you're in the area, please stop by, see the jail for our Love Kills tours. We got daytime, nighttime, as well as our Tag the Cell. I think it's going to be a lot of fun for February.
Yeah, and keep an eye out for our schedule, just because we're not quite back on an as usual schedule with our normal hours. We will have those hours that we're adding for February updated on Google, as well as we'll update a posting that says what our hours are going to be that we're open. But you can definitely guarantee that there will be nighttime tours, and also keep an eye out for that new calendar opening that's going to have our investigation schedule wide open for the rest of the year. So you're going to definitely want to get in there and get those dates booked before they book out, especially if you've got a special date in mind, especially September, October, that sort of thing, because once we open that up, those will go really fast.
Absolutely. But so we'll say goodnight here. Again, thank you all so much. We really appreciate it. We know you could be watching football or something right now, but you joined us, and we're really blessed by that. So thank you.
Absolutely. And so until next week, we will
have a good
see
night.